Best We Can podcast. Today I have Colin Ledbetter on today, a medically retired St. Louis City police officer who was shot in the line of duty. I am so excited for him to share his story and what he's done with everything and what he's doing now. So welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I really appreciate you coming to sit down and
Yeah,
be vulnerable and open up about this story.
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. All right, where do we start? Are you from St. Louis?
I am not. I'm actually from a smaller town in Illinois.
Okay.
It's about an hour down 70. It's called Vandalia.
Okay.
I grew up there, and yeah, that's pretty much where I started.
Okay.
I was thinking about, at 19, 20. I was like, man, I really want to be a cop.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the military first. So I joined the Illinois National Guard.
Okay. Thank you for your service.
Thank you. And mostly because I could be in the military because it's part time, so it's a part time thing. So
Okay.
you do 2 week or 1 week in the month, 2 weeks in the summer, and deployments every once in a while. And I did that, and then I started looking for policing jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and I filled out a bunch of applications, and I finally was talking to my dad, and he's like, "Well, if you really want to be a cop," he's like, "you should go be at a place where you would enjoy it and actually can work a lot and do a lot." So I started looking at that, and I was like looking at the best police departments,
Mm-hmm.
pay and everything like that, and I chose the one with the least amount of pay,
Mm.
but it seemed like it was more proactive, which was St. Louis City. So
Awesome.
that's where I ended up. I started the academy my late 20s, got out in the streets when I was 21.
Wow. Okay, so had you wanted to be a police officer all your life? Do you have any police officers in your family?
No,
Okay.
no, I'm the first one. It was just kind of a thing that I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make a difference somewhere.
Yeah.
I didn't know where. That was first start joining the military.
Yeah.
And after that, so yeah.
Anybody in your family been in the military?
My grandfather was.
Okay.
But that was pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, good for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started.
Yeah, I started. So I started the academy in October of 2017. I think October, November,
Okay.
and I hit the streets in the sixth district, in the city, which is north of Natural Bridge, all of that area there.
And for people that are not from St. Louis that watch the show, can you kind of describe
Yeah.
where you hit the streets and maybe let us know, a little more information about that?
Yep. So the city police department is comprised of 6 districts now. It used to be more, but they've kind of consolidated it for
Mm-hmm.
manpower and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There you got the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. The fourth district is kind of probably what people are more familiar with, downtown area, Bush Jada, Enterprise Center, stuff like that. The fifth district is more the central west end,
Mm-hmm.
and then the sixth is north of Natural Bridge. It's east of Goodfellow and west of Grand, and then the city actually goes all the way up on Riverview to 270.
Okay.
So there's a very thin strip that goes all the way up there.
Now let's tell our guests what's special about that district.
Whenever I worked there, let's see, 18, 19, and 20, the St. Louis City had the highest murder rate per capita. And I would say
In Missouri, in the country,
in the country.
in the country.
Per capita, highest murder rate. And I would say the sixth district probably accounted for half of those homicides. So
In the country.
in the country. So I would say we were ranging about, I'm just throwing numbers out here, so these may not be right, but I feel like we were around almost to 300. So 290-ish.
A year.
And a year. And
Wow.
we were probably handling half of those, I would say.
Who's handling the other half?
The sixth district. The for sure North Patrol. So that's the fifth and the sixth district. So
Okay.
the north side of St. Louis was for sure handling half of those. The rest would be the first to the fourth.
Oh, okay.
So you get some down on the very south side of St. Louis, which was District 1.
Okay.
And then the fourth district has a little bit sprinkled in there as well. So.
Oh my Goodness.
It was a lot, especially with how young I was, getting out there. And
Yeah.
I came out in the summer of 18,
Mhm.
and it was just like hit the ground running. My very first day, my FTO, we were, I was getting all my stuff ready. I showed up to roll call. They introduced me, and my FTO was like, "All right, are you ready?" I said, "Yep." And we went over, we got some paperwork at the desk. And as I'm getting all my paperwork and I'm talking to the desk officer and stuff, my FTO says, "Drop all that stuff, let's go." And we took off running. I didn't know what was going on because I didn't have, the ear for the radio yet.
So what's an FTO?
Field training officer.
Okay.
Yep. So you are assigned a field training officer right out of the academy. You stay with them in the city for about, I think it's 6 months maybe. I could be wrong on that. And he kind of basically holds your hand
Okay.
through the whole process, lets you know what to do, how to do it, and everything.
Mhm.
But he says, "Hey, let's go." So we take off running. We hop in the car. We drive like 2 or 3 blocks with our lights and sirens on.
And he didn't
And
tell you what you were walking into?
as we were heading that way, he said there's a couple officers there in pursuit of a guy that's wanted for stealing. I think stealing from a gas station or something.
Okay.
And we pull down this street, and as we're pulling down, he said, "Okay, watch right there. Get ready to get out." So I've got my door open, and sure enough, there's a guy comes running out the gangway, and he comes running across the street, and there's 2 officers chasing him. This guy is completely naked.
No.
He just has socks on.
Come on.
And I hop out, and of course I'm right out of the academy, so I'm fast.
Gung ho, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm running with him, and I get up right behind him, and we end up tackling him, taking him down off of a fence,
Like
and
you?
yep, me
Okay.
and the other 2 officers. Yeah, so it was a wild ride from there. I mean, we're going to shootings, we're arresting people, arresting very violent offenders, guys wanted for the shootings. It was eye opening. So especially growing up in a small town,
Right.
you just didn't know that that was happening an hour away from you.
Right.
So it was a culture shock for sure.
I bet.
Yeah,
So did you fall in love with it right away? Or
absolutely.
you're
Yep,
like, this is my calling?
yep. I was hooked from day one.
Oh
Yep,
my gosh.
yep.
Wild.
Yeah, it was a wild ride from there. I mean, I always say, especially like on my show and stuff, but I say it's a great place to cut your teeth if you really want to be a police officer and you want to learn how to do the job right. You go to the 6th district. So
Oh my
yeah,
gosh. Okay, so um what about like mentally? Like how do you go home after?
that was something that I never personally figured out on the job.
Okay.
It's something that I've become very proactive about after the job,
Mhm.
but there was a lot of nights where I went home and I didn't sleep because of adrenaline, what I saw that day, whatever. But I won't say that it's something that you get used to because you shouldn't get used to it, but you kind of do. You just kind of learn how to, okay, I'm not going to sleep tonight, or hey, I can go home and rest my head and not worry about it. So it was just, I don't know. It was definitely not a healthy way to do the job, and I think a lot of officers are figuring that out and figuring out how to cope with it.
Yeah.
There's a lot more resources, but
Good.
yeah,
Now.
now.
Now were you I see you're married. Did you have a girlfriend at the time? Were you living by yourself? Like what was your support at home?
I was pretty much single for the majority of my career.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't actually end up getting married till I got shot in 23 or
Okay.
22.
Before you
Um,
got shot or after you got shot?
I got married after I got shot.
Okay.
So I was dating her at the time that I got shot, but not married.
Okay. Now, do we want to go right into that, or is there
Yeah,
something? Okay.
that's fine. Yeah, so January of 22. At this point, I'm a more senior officer, which is crazy to think because I only had 3.5 some years on. Um, but I was riding with a newer partner at the time. It was kind of a weird situation. My partner had transferred to another platoon, and Nate, my partner, um, his partner had went down to the gang unit. So we just kind of got slapped together,
The
and
gang. There's a gang unit.
There's a gang unit. There's a fair amount of different units in the city, but gang unit is one of them. Um, there's about, I don't know, there's probably about 6 guys on it now. So
And what do they do specifically?
they mostly just kind of track and keep track of what gangs, because it's kind of wild. The St. Louis City is kind of, it's different from other like major cities. You know, you hear about the Bloods and the Crips,
Yeah, yeah.
but in the city you can have one subset of Crips and another subset, and they'll be a block away, but they don't get along. So they'll kill each other and shoot at each other and stuff. But they'll get along with Bloods that are 3, 4 blocks away. It's very strange. There's like different subsets. So
Do we have a lot of that in St. Louis?
yes,
We have a lot of like Crips and Bloods and
yep, like different subsets. You know, they're smaller entities, so they don't have anything to do with like the bigger sets of Crips. They just call themselves. You know,
do they wear blue and red?
that's, I mean, sometimes they'll kind of identify that way, but it's in doses, kind of.
Okay.
It's very different. So
Okay.
it was very hard to learn too, because you know you're going through all these streets and you'll realize that, oh, hey, those guys just had a shootout with these guys, but you would think that they get along, but they don't. So it was different.
Did
So
you ever have to do any gang work?
yeah, you know, so my squad was kind of more, we were more proactive with that kind of stuff than some other squads were. Especially, you know, I had buddies that went down to the gang unit, went down to specialized units, so we were always trying to further our career, and that was one of the ways to do it was,
To go beyond the gang unit.
yeah, well, or to, you know, just learn the different things that were going on in the city, why
Okay.
crime was happening, and
Okay.
who got along with who. So it was definitely something that you would learn as a street cop. Hey, you know, we need to know that this gang doesn't get along with this gang and stuff like that. So
Okay.
yeah, it was it was eye opening, you know, because you watch TV and all this stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone knows Bloods don't get along with Crips, but
Correct. And who didn't watch Cops growing up?
correct. So yeah,
Wild.
it was
Okay.
different. So, but he was, so my buddy, or my partner, I call him my partner, but we were actually partnered together for about a week before this shooting happened. We'd worked on the same squad together for
So you
our
knew
whole
each
careers.
other.
We knew each other very well.
Okay.
We had just never rode in the same car consistently.
Was he your age?
He's Nate's, I think, 2 or 3 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 32 now, I think. So,
Okay.
um, but it was both our Friday, and there was a homicide that had happened the night before on Natural Bridge, and I actually had an interview with our drug unit. I was downtown interviewing for that. So to kind of put it into perspective, our headquarters unit is right next to the City SC soccer stadium. So we were down there, and I interviewed, came down. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and Nate tells me that there's a car that matches the description of the homicide vehicle from the night before, and it was located at Riverview and Halls Ferry. So if you're familiar with the city at all, it's all the way up there on the north side. You're about, I don't know, half a mile to a mile south of 270. So we were way up there. And he said, hey, we don't have to do it. We can let another car take it, but it's our area. I said, no, let's go up there. So we get up there, and we had called another officer and told him, hey, this is what we got going on. We think this is the car. You want to meet us up there? Yep.
Is that typical to call for backup? Like,
It kind of is. So we kind of worked outside of, you know, you don't always talk on the radio like, hey, let's send another car. But we were adamant that this was the car. So we called one of our buddies that works in the squad with us, and we're like, we think this is it. Let's go ahead and get more cars in the area.
yeah.
So he went up there with us. I had actually called another specialized unit, the mobile reserve unit. So they kind of, it depends on if they're working or not. Sometimes they'll come around and hang around in the area, but they kind of specialize in chasing and spiking cars and stuff like that. So it was good to have a unit like that in the area. The only issue was that we were all the way on the north side, so it takes them a while to get up there. But we get up there and pull into it was a housing complex. We pull into the complex, we see the car. It's occupied 4 times. We
There's 4 people in the
There's
car.
4 people in the car.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm like, you gotta break this
Yep.
down.
Yep. We flip around and they instantly take off. At that time, the third officer was coming in. They almost hit his car. They get past him. They go out onto Riverview and instantly dip into the county. Well, where we were at, if they go into the county, you can't, there's no city cars around. So we're all the way at the north side of the city district.
You
So,
can't go into the county?
no, we can go into the county, but they went straight into the county. So the issue is that we don't have any patrol cars over that way, like other officers to help us. So we were pretty much on our own for the whole pursuit. It was a lot of trying to get the dispatchers to communicate with the county, which is already hard. They've got to call the county, say, hey, this is where our car is at. Because for whatever reason in the city, the county doesn't have access to our system and they don't have access to ours. So as soon as we go into the county, we're trying to get help from the county and it's relying on phone tag, and
That seems a little.
it is. Especially whenever you're that close to the border and
Well, yeah, and it's St. Louis. Like, come on, let's
Yep.
like open the communication here.
Yep.
Okay.
So we jump right into the county. I think it was about 19 to 20 minutes long.
You're just following him. This
Yep.
person's okay.
Weaving in and out of traffic, all sorts of stuff. So it was,
Like high speed chase.
yeah. I mean, we probably reached, we I would say we were about 70 to 80 the whole time. But we're driving on streets like Natural Bridge. We're driving down Goodfellow on Riverview.
Like
So
smaller. No,
yeah.
we're not talking the interstate here.
No, we're talking like the most you're going to have is 2-lane traffic, but it's like a 30, 40 mile per hour speed limit. So
Okay.
we're booking it for what it is. There's traffic lights every
Yeah.
couple blocks and stuff. So it was a lot. The car ends up trying to go up an embankment and pops all 4 of its tires.
Oh boy.
Comes back down and it ends up spinning out, and the driver and passenger get out, take off running, and the 2 backseat passengers stay in the car. So Nate chases I think it would be the front seat passenger, and I end up chasing the driver. And
Is anyone else there with you or just you guys?
the third officer ended up getting into the pursuit.
So he's there as well.
Mhm.
So he gets the other passengers.
So he jumps out and actually follows us. So he didn't hear that on the radio that it was occupied 4 times. So he's thinking we're only chasing 2 guys.
Oh shoot.
So it was a whole big mess. And this is all coming third party. So I don't remember any of this. I actually lost memory due to the shooting. So I actually don't have memory of any of this.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, due to the blood loss and everything that I had. So
Oh my
I had
Colin.
yeah, it was a pretty traumatic brain injury and stuff. But I sit down and I've seen the body camera footage and stuff like that. So
Wait,
I know.
let's go back to the pursuit. You're
Yeah.
running after this guy.
Yep. So we're chasing this guy, and we're chasing the driver and the passenger at this time. Nate is chasing the front seat passenger, and I'm chasing the driver. And Nate, we go around one house, and Nate chases him down that gangway, and I'm continue following the driver. So there's a house here and a house here. Nate comes through that gangway there.
Are these guys running fast? Are they like fit men?
Oh yeah, yep. They're about 22 to 23. They're pretty fit guys. So we're booking it. And Nate and I at this time we're fast guys. Like we're 2 of the fastest guys on our squad. And Nate ends up catching up to the passenger, and the guy turns around and shoots him in the leg, and it takes him out. It shattered his femur, so he went down pretty much immediately, and they ended up exchanging rounds. And
Nate and
the passenger, front seat
exchanging
passenger.
rounds, meaning Nate, after he's been shot,
Nate goes down to the ground, pulls out his gun, and shoots back. And then
Does he hit him? Does he hit him?
Yes. So he was hit 18 times.
Who was hit 18 times?
The passenger was. Yep. So it was a pretty long gunfight. If you listen to the dash camera and everything. There was a lot of gunfire that it was exchanged.
Was Nate hit more than once?
Nate was hit twice.
How did he avoid all the shots?
Um, I don't know. I guess because he went down and when he went down, the suspect was turned around firing like this, which I think kind of probably he didn't have accuracy. Probably is the issue. Um, but at this time, I'm guessing I'm hearing gunshots, so I'm coming back around the house this way.
Okay, I have another question about the 18 shots. This
Yeah.
is blowing my mind.
Yep.
He's not down at this point?
No, he's not. So Nate probably didn't hit him that many times. So the 18 shots came from whenever I came around the corner. When I came down the gangway, he was still, from everyone else's perspective, Nate's perspective, and the third officer, he was still running away. And we can only assume that I ran into him. And this is where it kind of gets weird because no one saw what happened at this point because we're kind of back behind. There was like it's weird to describe, but there was like a extended porch area. And they think that's kind of where it happened at. But we ran into each other right there and fought hand to hand.
Like fist fighting?
Mm-hmm.
You and the passenger.
Yep.
Where's the driver at this point?
I let him go, I guess, is what I would assume, is he kept running and I turned around to help Nate.
And that's that's protocol.
Yep. And that's when we ran into each other, and we exchanged some gunfire. I went down. He went down and actually jumped back over the fence somehow, back into the fence in the yard with Nate, and was still shooting at this point.
Who was he shooting?
He was shooting at Nate at this point. He's shooting back at Nate. So at some point we dislodged from each other, and I had went around the corner. So he actually shot me in my abdomen, and it went down and hit my femoral artery. And then he shot me in the foot, and then I caught a couple rounds in the vest as well. And he jumped back over the fence after we, broke up, and fired a couple more shots at Nate. And then that third officer came and fired a couple more times and put him down. So the suspect actually lived till about 10 o'clock that night. So I don't know if he was hopped up on drugs or what, but he was hell-bent on killing one of us. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. There was a lot of...
He did not make it.
He did not.
Did you guys figure out, was he the homicide?
Yes, it was a whole big open case, and he was part of it. So in Missouri, by Missouri law, in the commission of a crime, if you are committing a crime, so just to back up, that night before, him and then the guy that was killed were robbing a nightclub on Natural Bridge. The security guard came out and killed the other suspect. As they were robbing, I guess they exchanged rounds, and he killed the other suspect. So that's actually why they were wanted for robbery and homicide, because they put the car out wanted for homicide because the two suspects had basically robbed him, and in the commission of a robbery or a crime, if your partner is killed, you're actually responsible for their homicide as well. So that's the reason we were chasing the car, is for robbery and homicide. And it was kind of, it's a weird deal just because of the way the state considers it.
So the suspect was there with another suspect. They
Yep. They robbed the nightclub.
One of them goes down.
So they robbed the nightclub. They end up shooting someone, and then one of them goes down, and the suspect goes down because the security guard shot back.
Like dead on sight?
Dead on sight.
And then the other suspect?
He gets away in that car with two other guys, which were the two other guys that were in the car the day that we were chasing it. So it was a whole big...
Wild.
Yeah, there was I don't know, there was a bunch of different agencies involved. Because, at the very least, you've got St. Louis homicide from the night before, but then you've got St. Louis County because they ended up jumping in on our pursuit at the end and stuff like that. And then We had U.S. Marshals, the ATF got involved because all the guns that they had were illegal, stuff like that. So it was a very big process. The one of the backseat passengers ended up, actually it was the driver. He got away, and they ended up searching for him. They found him in Las Vegas, like a month later.
How did they do that?
The U.S. Marshals, I don't know, however they do things. So they ended up finding him in Las Vegas. They caught him at a, I don't know where they actually caught him at. I think it was in a hotel in Vegas. So it was a very big ordeal.
So, what about the two passengers that
Yep.
remained in the car?
So there was two backseat passengers. They both had weapons on them as well. Actually, you can see it on the dash cam when they get out. They actually have one of them has a shotgun, and then the other one just had a pistol. But they ran the opposite direction from where we were going, thinking that they got away. And about that time, a St. Louis County undercover car pulled up and started chasing them. And they briefly got away because the St. Louis County car heard the shots being fired, and they came back to help Nate and I. So they let those suspects go, and then I think it was like an hour or two later they found them hiding in a creek down the road. So it was, yeah, craziness.
Wow.
There was a lot going on. A lot of miracles happened that day too. Nate, Nate went. So when Nate went down and the third officer shot the suspect, no one knew that I had even interchanged with this guy. Um, and when those county guys came back, it's very weird to describe because of this, like where it happened at. But basically, we had ran around these two houses, and West Florissant runs this way. And when the county guys came, they chased the suspects this way, and Nate and I were in the backyards right here. So when I came around, I'm right here, but I'm back behind a porch. So Nate didn't know that I was back there. When the suspect got back over the fence, they just thought that, hey, he was right there, and the third officer came in and took him out. I was still back behind that porch. The county guys come up,
Had
and they
already been shot at this point.
already been shot. I'm leaning up against a building. The county guys come up. They see Nate. One of them hollers at me and says, "Hey, are you okay?" And I kind of wave at him. He took that as me being okay. He hops over to help Nate.
Oh no.
And as they're helping Nate, he kind of realizes, he's like, "Hey, where's that third officer at?" And everyone's like, "What third officer are you talking about?" And our squad mate, the third officer that was actually on the scene, he gets on the radio and he's like, "Ledbetter, where are you?" And he keeps hollering for me, and he's like, "I don't know where he's at."
Oh my gosh.
So the county guy finally kind of starts to put everything together, kind of sets everyone aside, and he's like, "Hey, is there another officer over there?" And they're like, "We don't know." So he hops over the fence and finds me leaning up against the bill. I'm on the ground at this point, but you can just see all the blood and everything, and you can kind of see I'm like going in and out of consciousness. So they start trying to, fix me up and stuff. I'm getting a tourniquet on my leg. They help me get it the rest of the way on. And then they
And you
start.
don't remember any of this.
I don't. This is all coming from me watching the body camera and stuff like that. And they start patching me up and start to realize, they're like, "Hey, he's bleeding too much. We got to get him going." So they throw another tourniquet on, and they start carrying me. And you can kind of, if you watch the body camera, you can kind of see the mood change because no one realized that I was hit. And
That
then, and they're pulling me out of this corner, and you can see all the officers like, "Oh my gosh, where did this guy come from?" Because Nate was talking and everything, and he's like, "Hey, get me going. I am in pain. I want something." So, um, and they kind of pull me up, and they're like getting ready to shove me in a van,
a police van or an ambulance?
a police van.
Was the ambulance called at this point?
So yes, but usually protocol, if officers are that bad off, they'll transport themselves. So they were going to throw me in a police van and take me to Barnes Hospital. And as they're putting me in there, it just so happened that there was a ambulance down the road, and an officer had heard all this going on. He's like, "Hey, there's two officers hit. Can we go down there?" And they were like, "Yeah, So the patient that they had refused medical treatment. They came down to us. So they get Nate up, and he's up on the gurney. Mind you, he doesn't know that I've been hit yet.
He doesn't know.
Doesn't know anything.
Wow.
And he's laying there. They just started pushing meds, and stuff. And the officers come running up, and if you watch the body camera, they looked like a bunch of like helpless dogs. Like they're like, "Here, take our friend." And as it's kind of funny now, I know. So I tell this story because I know everyone that was involved now. So I've met the ambulance crew, I've met all the officers. So it's kind of funny to tell. But as they're bringing me up to the ambulance, the ambulance personnel grabs Nate and they throw him on a bench. Mind you, he's got a shattered femur basically, so he's in a lot of pain, and he has no clue what's going on. He's like, "Why are you guys forcing me off the bed, right?" And these officers come running up, and they've got me feet first, and they're trying to shove me in. And the ambulance person was like, "No, turn him around," yelling at him. And she actually hits one of the officers on the head. She's like, "Listen to me, turn him around." So they finally realize what's going on, and they get me in head first, and they throw me up on the gurney. And Nate looks over, and he sees me, and he's just like awestruck. And he said, "I had white stuff coming out of my mouth." He's like, "I was 100% that you were gone." And at that point, they look for a pulse. They don't get a pulse, so they start CPR. And I was very lucky to be with the crew that I was, because some of the stuff that they did really prolonged my life there. But they started pushing magnesium, which is basically just to keep my veins open. I had lost so much blood that I didn't have blood running through my veins, so they were pushing magnesium into my veins to keep them open. And they get me to the hospital. They pull me out of the ambulance. Now, I've heard several different stories about how this goes, but I've talked to the trauma surgeon at Barnes. He actually was at my wedding and stuff. He's become a good family friend as well. And he came out, and basically the ambulance was telling, the hospital, "Hey, this is what we got going on," all this. So he comes out to the ambulance to see kind of, is this guy really worth putting in a room? Because once you get into a room, there's a whole lot more things.
Is he worth putting into a room?
So at that point, I had been without life for so long and stuff like that.
How long?
So they said that they felt for a pulse on scene, and they didn't find a pulse. And it was about an 8 to 15 minute drive to Barnes. So they account for 8 to 15 minutes of no pulse when I was on the ground to the ambulance. So it's all kind of, we don't know, but
And CPR, they couldn't get you.
well, CPR is basically just keeping my veins flowing, my heart pumping. But yeah, I was without a pulse for that long, without anything. So he comes out to basically pronounce me deceased, basically.
Who comes out?
The trauma surgeon. And he comes out, and he tells me to this day that he swore he saw me try to take a breath. He's like, "It was probably just in my head, but I thought you tried to take a breath." And he's like, "As soon as I seen that, I told him, I said, let's get going." And a nurse hopped up, started doing compressions and everything. So at this point, my chief and everyone's already down there. They see me coming through. My chief now tells me this story. He says that I had like 8 to 10 people working on me. And they're all trying to keep everything going. They're pushing blood. I ended up taking 39 units of blood that day. So obviously the human body holds way less than that, but they're putting blood into me as it's coming out. So they're just trying to...
The gunshot wounds.
Yep. So they're just trying to keep blood flowing and putting blood into me and keep it going.
So when we donate blood, how much are we donating?
So you just donate 1 unit.
Okay.
So
that's what I was thinking.
Yep. So yeah, that was 39 people basically helped save my life. And that was 39 units from my entirety of the hospital. So obviously all 39 units didn't go into me that day. I took units probably until I left, I think. But the chief says, I saw 8 to 10 people working on you. And it was just kind of touch and go from that point. They actually were going to take my leg that day
Take it
because,
off.
because of everything that else they had going on. My leg had been without blood for so long. My femoral artery. So basically, that artery stretches from here, all the way down through your leg. And it had when I was shot, it had basically retracted, so it completely separated, and it retracted up to like the tip up here. And so they actually had to repair all of that and stretch it back out. And then I have about a foot or so of it's from a cow, but it's a cow artery in me now as well. Um, it was kind of a crazy story, even with that part of one of the miracles. But as they're trying to get my heart going and everything like that, there happened to be a vascular surgeon that was getting ready to do a procedure upstairs. They actually had him come down to see if he could fix it, and they actually opened me up and fixed that vein, all while they're up here doing this. He's down there doing all of that. Um,
Wow.
Mind you, the suspect and Nate both went to the same hospital as I did, which just goes to tell you, I mean, we have an amazing hospital care team in St. Louis.
Yeah,
Um,
we really do.
I mean, I don't know if there's too many hospitals in the world that could have, saved that many people. I mean, they kept the shooter, who was hit that many times, they kept him alive until 10 o'clock that night, from what I hear. So, I mean, it's amazing that
Wow.
they're able to do that kind of stuff.
Now, are you faith? Do you have any faith? Are you
Yes.
okay?
Yep. It's become a lot stronger since the shooting, but
Mm-hmm.
yes, from childhood. So, yep.
Okay, so God was involved in all of this.
100%.
Okay.
100%. Yep.
Okay.
I say it's miracle after miracle.
Mm-hmm.
When so that night around 11 o'clock, basically the trauma surgeon comes up, and my parents, my girlfriend, they haven't seen me yet, and they've only heard.
But they got you breathing again and heart pumping and.
Yep, they got me breathing and everything, and so I arrived at about, I would say, about 2 to 3 o'clock.
PM.
Um,
PM.
yep, and the trauma surgeon basically didn't come out and talk to my family until about 11 o'clock that night. So they were working on me that whole time.
Getting the gun. The gun.
No, they had to. They did a lot of different things. I have what's called a fasciotomy here on my leg. They repaired this. So the fasciotomy basically is releasing pulled up blood,
Mm-hmm.
and so they opened me up here to release that. They opened me up here to obviously to massage my heart to get it started again. So when that kind of stuff happens, they'll take all of your organs out and they'll like massage your heart. So I have a big scar right here, and then a scar right here, um, and then obviously the scar right here to prepare my femoral artery and stuff like that. So just all sorts of medical stuff that I can't even begin to comprehend. um, that was basically going on for these hours before the doctor finally came out to tell my family that, hey, he's gonna live,
Oh my gosh.
but we don't know brain capacity or anything like that. I had just been without blood for so long and oxygen to my brain that it wasn't considered good.
Mm.
And Dr. Sure basically told him like, hey, he's gonna live, but we don't know how he's gonna walk out of here, or any of that. And after that, it was kind of an awesome battle. I get to watch it back. I don't remember any of my hospital time, but I get to watch it back like on news clips and stuff like that. You can see kind of me starting to walk. You can see, well, to begin with, you can kind of see they have video of me like finally sitting up in a chair, eating a popsicle.
How long after?
This is probably a week and a half. I think I was out for about a week and a half.
So you had a feeding tube.
Feeding tube, all of that. Basically, when they started to finally, they had me in an induced coma Um, when they finally kind of started to bring me out, I kept fighting. I would try to fight the nurses and stuff like that, so they would have to put me back under and, hey, we'll try again tomorrow.
Fighting them because why?
I would assume probably because I was still in fight or flight,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
coming out with that last memory of
Right.
fighting. So,
Okay.
yep, I would. I don't know exactly like all the, but I know that I would come out and I would try to pull tubes out and
Oh,
fight the
okay.
nurses and push them away and stuff like that. So they kept putting me back under, and I think after the second or third time, they were finally able to bring me out real slow, and I kind of started coming out of it a little bit. I was a very bad patient in the hospital, from what I've been told. I continuously tried to pull the tubes out of my noses and stuff like that. I would get very angry, and it was a lot of you can just tell it in my eyes, like I wasn't all there.
Well, of course.
So it was kind of interesting to see. But my parents said that I had a thing for Mountain Dew. I guess I my mom fought me for almost a whole day, 12 hours basically. She got there at 8 and I kept asking for a Mountain Dew. And this is like day probably 6 of me being awake and stuff. So I have the feeding tube out and everything. And she goes, Colin, you can't have a Mountain Dew. Like, I can give you a popsicle or something, but you can't have a Mountain Dew. And which I don't even know why because I don't like Mountain Dew, but I kept asking for it.
That is hilarious.
And she couldn't figure out why for the life of her.
Right.
And she said that night she was going to the bathroom, and as she's walking out, my door was open that whole day. As she's walking out, she can see a Mountain Dew on the nurse's station. Had been there the whole day. And she asked the nurse, she's like, hey, do you mind if we set that down on the desk? She goes, oh, yeah, that's fine. And she came back in. I didn't ask for a Mountain Dew again.
Oh, that's hilarious. I
But I
thought you were
guess,
going to say they had an ad up, and I'm like,
no,
so many issues with that in a
no.
hospital, but
It was just
wow.
it was just a Mountain Dew bottle, and I guess I just
That's
kept
so
I
funny.
kept
Fixated. You were
yep.
fixated on it.
And that was a lot of my hospital stay. Just I was very anxious to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I kind of started weaning off the drugs, they were giving me all sorts of drugs for pain and everything, and
Sure.
steroids and everything, and um, they had a syringe. They gave it to me. They would give it to me by IV, but sometimes they would give it to me by mouth, and they had a syringe that they would put in my mouth and just squirt it in there. So it was all liquid stuff,
Medicine. Okay.
like fentanyl and stuff like that they would give me. And that was pretty much, I think, like twice a day. They would come in and give that all to me. By the time I kind of stopped taking that stuff, which was like the last 3 days in my hospital, that's kind of when my memory started back. So I kind of started becoming more coherent. And
Aware.
that's kind of when people started realizing that there really is a miracle happening.
Yeah.
I'm getting up, I'm wanting to walk on my own and stuff like that. And they finally, after 3 weeks, they're like, hey, we're going to go ahead and we're going to discharge you, but we're going to move you to an inpatient rehab where you're probably going to spend the next couple months there. And I didn't really understand that, but my mom and my girlfriend and my dad did. And so they take me down. They discharge me from Barnes. They take me down to a hospital van. They transport me to Trissel. Um, and I'm fully expecting to be there for the next, 3 months or so. And it was like bam, 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 and I was gone in a week. So I was up moving, and when I first started at Trissel, I could hardly walk, and it was just like my body just was like, "Hey, I want to get out of here," and I ended up walking out of there.
Wow.
So it was it was a like I said, it was just miracle after miracle.
Yeah.
So
My goodness. And then I saw a video clip that as you walked out, was it the hospital or the rehab?
that was that rehab at Trissel.
Why
Yep.
don't you tell us, like, who was there, what your thoughts were, what do you know?
So after really any hospital stay, like after a cop gets out of the hospital, it's kind of just a thing. It's a tradition. A bunch of cops will line up,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll walk down a tunnel. It's very, dramatic, and
Emotional,
yeah.
probably.
And I remember thinking, so, and I kind of had, I don't know why I thought this, but when I got out of Barnes, they transported me in that van, and there was like nothing, like no one really knew what was going on, that I was getting transported or anything. So I kind of didn't even expect this at Tristle. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, all right, out of the hospital, I'll just go hop in my parents' vehicle and go home. And I come out of out of the Tristle, and there's a whole big line. My old partner is standing there,
Me?
and no, this was actually my old partner
Okay.
before
Oh,
Nate,
okay.
and he calls everyone to attention. They salute me and everything. Nate actually walked out with me, so he was actually the other officer there with me, and we get down to the end, and then Michael Hines was down there at the end. Mike was actually the one that I called that day from Mobile Reserve to come help us, and there was the county guys that found me. They were down there along with Dr. Schur and the ambulance crew as well.
Oh my gosh.
So they were all down there as well, and I think they were just as surprised as everyone else to see me walk out of there,
I bet.
especially the ambulance crew, the people that had seen me and was like,
He's a goner.
there's no way.
Yeah.
The ambulance crew, I've talked to them, but they kept reaching out to my mom and other officers, and they were like, they weren't voting against me, but they just didn't understand it,
Wow.
just because they knew
Yeah.
they've transported so many people like that just don't make it. So it was definitely, it was awesome.
Was the
And
news crew there as well?
yes,
Yeah.
yep. Couple different people were there. KSDK, I think Fox was there and stuff. We After we leave Tristle, we go downtown. We drive past headquarters, and they all stop, and the chief comes out, and all the people from headquarters come out and clap and everything. And I remember all of that was pretty awesome. But I remember kind of the biggest thing for me was, as all of this is going on, the city soccer stadium is being built, which is right there across from headquarters. And all of the workers had stopped and lined up in front of the soccer stadium and were clapping, which like gave me a newfound hope for police officers, because I was like, if the city community can do that, it meant a lot. So,
Yeah.
but
Wow.
yeah, it was quite an adventure. Um, I did outpatient rehab, which is like basically you drive to a facility and you stay there all day, and I did that for probably about 3 to 4 months, thinking that I was gonna make it back to policing. I never did, but
But that was your goal. That's what I was going to ask. What are you thinking? Okay, I'm going to get back out on the streets again.
yep,
Or
I
in the rehab, were they doing like, were you learning, how, well, you were walking, so.
a lot of it was strengthening my legs, like my core. I laid in a hospital bed for 3 months, so it
Right.
was. I
A lot of
had trouble
atrophy.
like setting up stuff like that, and actually speaking. I did a lot of speech therapy. When I don't know what happened, but at some point my vocal cords had collapsed. So whether it was a tube or whatever it was, but I couldn't talk. Like my voice was very low and raspy, and you couldn't always hear what I was saying. So I did a lot of that. Um, and yeah, it was just basically trying to figure out how my body was gonna react to all this, and I did that for about 3 months, I think. But yeah, it was. I was trying to get back to work. I did. Once I got done with the outpatient rehab, I was just doing solely physical therapy, and I was working part time up at North Patrol, my old patrol station.
Doing what?
At that time, they had just implemented a camera room, so the city's filled with cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a camera room up there. So I sit up there and I would kind of help the officers out in the streets with anything. One day there was a shooting, and I helped basically track down the vehicle and stuff like that.
Like you got in a car?
No, no, no. Just on the
As a camera.
cameras,
Okay.
like watching the
Got it,
vehicle
got it,
go
got
through
it.
the city, stuff like that. So, nothing crazy. Just trying to,
Get plugged back in.
yeah.
Right.
And basically, I got all the way. I think it was about a year and a half in, and I was adamant. I was like, hey, I'm going back. Like, I'm going to be back soon, telling all my buddies that.
What's everyone saying to you?
They're like, they thought I was crazy. They were like, you need to just be done, take it and run. And
Because why? Just because it was so traumatic? Or,
yeah, I think that there was a little bit of that. And I think they were saying it more for their benefit than mine because they were just like, I don't know if I can see you go through that type of thing again. Was more so the outlook. Um, but I was adamant. I was like, hey, I'm gonna make it back. I'm running. I was running again and stuff like that. And
wow.
they were just it was a lot of like, hey, you've done it. You made it. Don't burn it type of thing. um, and my I guess it was workers comp. It was my workers comp case manager that said, "Hey, you've pretty much surpassed everything you need to, but we're going to send you to a neurologist." And I said, "Okay." And I went there my first visit, and he was like, "We need to pump the brakes." He's like, "You're not going back to work yet." He's like, "There's some deficits that I see, so we're going to pump the brakes and we're going to do a couple tests and figure some stuff out."
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of started down that road. I was very angry
Yeah.
and disheartened by it, but I was like, it's another hoop to jump through.
Mm-hmm.
And about, I don't know, it was a couple months down the road, I ended up doing this test. It was a very, very in depth test, but it basically it was managing like reaction time,
Mm-hmm.
memory, and stuff like that. And there was some deficits to a normal standpoint versus mine. And he said, "Hey, we can try again in a couple months and just see where you're at." So I tried it again. I still just couldn't pass it. And at that point, I kind of sat down with my family and I kind of weighed the pros and the cons. And I said, "Okay, well, I'll be done." So I walked down that path of medical retirement, which I
Mm-hmm.
thought was going to be. I hear all these horror stories about it, and so I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this is going to be terrible. Like I'm
Like
going to have
what
to.
horse? Like,
So there's just you'll have an officer go out and get hurt pretty bad, and they have to go before the medical board to get their medical retirement and stuff, and it's just that stigma of it's not a fun process, and all of that, and
plus you don't want to do it.
correct. And I was very very upset with having to do it, but um, I got through. I called my lawyer, told him what was going on. He's like, "Yep, we'll get you all through it." So we started the process. I gathered up all the paperwork and submitted my case, and they sent me I think it was like 3 4 months in, and they sent me a letter basically, "Hey, you got to report to the board at this date to plead your case or whatever." And I remember going there, and I was so nervous because I was like, "I'm gonna have to go in here and relive my story
Yeah.
basically," and I wasn't ready to do that.
Yeah.
And my lawyer pretty much took over. He did everything for me, which was amazing. I didn't have to do a whole lot of it. And then they kind of asked me like a few questions, and then it seemed almost like a formality. Like all of the whole board kind of knew my backstory, and it was just kind of after that I was like, okay, I'm okay. Like
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have to relive a whole lot of this.
Right.
So, which was made it easier.
Of course.
So
And then, so what happened? What was the?
they approved my retirement, and I think I started that in January of 24. So almost 2 years, pretty much 2 years, yeah. So I was shot in January of 22, and January 24 is when I finally retired. So
So you couldn't,
yeah,
when you're retired, you can't go be like what? You can't be involved.
nope. So I could take like a civilian position with the
Mm-hmm.
city,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I can't, carry a gun and a badge. Basically, is what I'm limited to. Um, so yeah, that was kind of
You were crushed, probably.
yeah. I was 25, um, 26, 27 now at this time. Um, I started both the military and the police department when I was 20. So in my head, both of those have 20-year retirements, and in my head, I'm gonna be retired at 40. Had my whole life planned out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting pretty good for my age. I'm thinking, hey, I'm great. I'm on a good path in life. And 25 and then 27, you got to tell a 27-year-old, hey, we're going to have to figure some stuff out. In the process of me getting medically retired, I was medically separated from the military, so I lost that as well. So it was a path to reconstructing a new identity, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. My
Yeah.
goodness. So at what point did you get married?
So I was married in September of 23.
Okay.
Um, she had actually, my wife had went through before I was shot. I actually went on a military deployment and everything. So we met right before that military deployment. So she went through that with me, and then the shooting with me, and so it was, yeah,
You've been through a lot.
yeah.
Wow.
She went through it all with me and came out on the other side, and yeah,
Wow. Okay. So married in 23. You guys have children,
nope, no children yet.
but maybe at some point.
Maybe at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so why don't you tell us now? What are you doing? What did you? Well, and also the mental health piece. Were you
hmm
seeing? Did they have? Are you seeing therapists? Like,
Yes. So I guess I'll start with the mental health. So I've
yeah.
become a very big advocate for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was I jumped through a couple different therapists. I finally found one that kind of stuck with me and helped me through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It was so eye opening after the second or third time I went because I found myself not even talking about any of what was going on at that time. I was talking more about stuff that I had experienced on the job when I was 22 or 23,
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I hadn't even processed.
I'm
Um,
sure.
that was very strange to me in itself, which made me become even more adamant about finding this for other officers.
Mm-hmm.
Um, since then, I have started trying to help officers seek that help
Mm-hmm.
through my podcast and other ways. I just counted it up the other day. I've actually helped 7 officers now get into therapy
Amazing.
with different therapists and stuff, which is imperative for both the community and those officers.
Yeah.
Um, and it's become a very big passion of mine.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and you started a
I
podcast.
did. So that kind of came about kind of weird too. So I was writing a book and I made a Facebook post about it. And I had a buddy reach out to me and encourage me to start a podcast. And so then I met some people and it just went from there and it's kind of taken off.
Um, let's tell everybody what the podcast is called.
Yep, it's called the Built Different podcast. I interview veterans, first responders, anyone that kind of has a interesting walk of life. I've
Mm-hmm.
had a few mental health therapists on to kind of. I get a lot of officers and stuff like that watching my podcast, so I have people on like that to kind of
Mm-hmm.
push those people out as well. So
Mm-hmm. Wow.
yeah,
What an incredible story.
it has been. I've had a crazy 20s.
Yeah, I'd say. And what about the book? Where are you with the book?
The book is touch and go. I've been writing it since the end of 22.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've got about 10 to 12 chapters. I'm just kind of like when it feels right, it'll feel right, and
Yeah.
I'll actually be done with it and release it. So
Okay. So today, what are you doing today? Just the podcast? What else is going?
yeah, just the podcast today.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of set aside my Tuesdays, for that, and um,
Awesome.
yeah,
Good. Well, good for you. That's amazing.
yeah. It's been a ride.
What's next?
Um, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just kind of writing it out. I've actually, with my old therapist, I've actually signed up to teach a couple classes, like for officer wellness and stuff like that. So we're actually applied to teach a class down in Branson, Missouri. So it's like a cop convention, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a bunch of departments there and stuff like that can
Awesome.
hear us talk through this class and teach these officers kind of how to cope with this stuff. So
Awesome. And I didn't mean just the podcast.
right.
I just meant like, do you have another part-time job? Or you?
So I did back in 24, I guess I started at a car dealership. I ended up leaving. It just didn't feel right. You know, I was a parts manager for a little bit there, but I left. I actually do a little part-time dispatching in my hometown. Other than that, I have several cars and trailers that I rent out to kind of help fuel, you know, my podcast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my dad and I are actually exploring selling cars on
Nice.
our own. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So
Were you living at home at the time?
I was so in 20, I guess 2020, St. Louis City basically opened up their residency requirements to an hour away. So Vandalia is right in an hour. So I was able to live in Vandalia and travel back and forth.
Nice.
Before that, I was living downtown, right across from the Enterprise Center.
Okay. All right.
So
Wow. Well, thank you so much
absolutely,
for sharing your story.
absolutely,
I know you've been an inspiration for a lot of people.
yeah,
Your name is well known in St. Louis.
yeah,
And just incredible.
yeah. You know, with I guess I wanted to use this for something good. You know, I feel like God gave it to me for a reason, and I didn't want that to go to waste. So I think that's kind of why the podcast came about, the book came
Yeah.
about, and all of this. So it's definitely a blessing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So great. If you had one thing to say to the audience that you want them to take away from this, is there something that sticks out in your mind?
I guess your story's never over. That's kind of 26, 27 me would definitely want me to say because I felt like my story was over. But it's obviously not.
No,
So,
far from.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited because our podcasts are with the same production company, so
Yes.
we'll be seeing each other. And
Yes.
I'm definitely gonna check your podcast out.
Yep.
So, wow, thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you for all of those who have listened to this episode of the Yes We Can podcast. Come back again. We'll be back live next Tuesday, 10 a.m.
What if you could start your day feeling loose, relaxed, and ready? Deep hydrotherapy right in your backyard. Relax with your family or friends, or work out with our Michael Phelps Edition Swim Spas. Worried about maintenance? We have factory-trained service nearby whenever you need it. Plus, we're here for you long-term if you have any questions or need to refill supplies. You can even test spas at our showrooms. Spas and More, A+ rated, locally owned for 20 years. We put the in spa.